No doubt about it. This is weird.
From the land of conjurers, flying through the internet to your device like a UAP, hauntingly unexplained and downright weird. This is the Witching Hours, and we are ready to take off in the flash of an eye. Good evening to one and all, wherever and, of course, whenever you are listening to this program. I am Frosty, and joining me for the first time in a couple of weeks is medium Jenny Lee. How are you doing, Jenny?
I think I'm about 95% better from having the flu.
I was getting ready to say we were off last week because of this, East Coast ice storm. And then, we had the flu the week before. So you've had a little bit of a break from the program here.
I had a little bit of a break from everything. Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're feeling well enough to join us tonight. It's good to have you back.
Thanks.
I did my first show all by myself.
You did. I was very shocked.
I couldn't have asked for a better guest to have on that night than Darcy.
Anybody was going to be
Staniforth.
Anybody for you to do it by yourself. I'm glad it was her.
Yeah.
So you're just history nerded it out together.
Yeah, the only thing I was, disappointed about, I think you would have enjoyed talking to her, but she's going to be coming back on the show in March, I think. So we have a date set for her, so you'll be able to join and talk to her again. And we were able to catch her virtual talk at the Hanover Tavern Paracon this week. What did you think of that?
It was interesting. It was about death photography in Victorian era. And I was already familiar with that quite a bit because I'd done my own project of that when I was in college. But there's definitely things in it that I didn't know. It was very interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool. There was lots of really good talks. Speaking of which, we had a lot of people from Hanover Tavern Paracon on. But this storm, messed some things up. It tried to mess things up, but it didn't succeed all the way.
No.
Dan Kegley was not able to make it. I was really looking forward to seeing him talk. And there were some others who weren't able to make it, but there was lots of people who did come and lots of people who stepped in. And it's going to be, it was absolutely wonderful time. Lots of, I don't know, there's always a great weekend to be able to go out and hang out with other paranormal weirdos.
Good friends.
So lots of good times. Of course, the biggest thing for the Witching Hours for that is we always end up meeting people to book, both new and returning. So we're going to have some returning guests coming back
and
on
some new friends
and some new friends coming on this spring. And we got a lot coming
and some surprising friends.
We have some. I've just recently published a list on Facebook. So if you want to follow us over on Facebook, I have or on our Discord, I have a updated schedule over there for February and March of everyone who's coming on the show. So Rob Thompson was another one who was supposed to be on last Monday, but we had to cancel because of for us, there's a lot of ice. I think he might be in New England. It was 20 something inches of snow headed their way. So he's going to be coming back on February 9th. So we still got lots and lots coming our way. So,
he'll be on next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So about the Valentine's Day show. So there we go. So welcome in everyone. So glad you could be here. Glad to have you all in here tonight as we talk to Micahel Schratt. We're going to continue our discussion about UFO crashes and recoveries. I have been enamored ever since the first time we had him on, really, just seeing how far much further back it went than Roswell and how many cases there has been of.
I mean, we've had him on twice and we've only made it to 1963.
I know, right? So there's been some things recently too going on down in South America with like the Boogosphere and stuff like that. So I'm kind of,
Oh, I don't know about that.
I know. Well, we talked about that orb that
Did
was
we?
flying around in the
Oh,
sky,
yeah.
and so
I didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah, well, it was over. That was the name of the town that I was seen flying.
Oh.
So they just called, yeah.
That's what the thing was called.
What is? It's the Boogosphere, Buga sphere, right? Pretty sure.
Okay, got it. It was just running together as one word for me.
Well, it is one word. The what is that?
Boogosphere.
Boogosphere, Buga, Columbia. There we go.
Okay.
All right, so I guess you ready to get in some news, Jenny?
Yes.
All right, so a lot of news today. I guess we'll start off with story number one. Of course, today, Groundhog Day. Punxsutawney Phil, the groundhog weather icon, saw his shadow when he was plucked from his warm burrow, and that means 6 more weeks of winter. I don't think that surprises anyone, does it?
Somebody here in good old Richmond, Virginia, because we're weirdos in Richmond, made a meme that said that the Richmond possum plucked from the trash can. See shadow. I was like, oh yeah.
So 6 more weeks of winter. I don't think that should surprise anyone here on. I would say the East Coast, but we were looking the other day, and it was like 80% of the United States was seeing some kind of winter weather. So it's been a tough one, and February, from what I understand, is still kind of being more expected. I'll put it that way. I was just reading before we went live about the possibility of getting another inch or two of snow now on Wednesday night. So,
yeah.
In reality, astronomical winter will end on the spring equinox, known as the vernal equinox, on March 20th at 10:46 a.m. So we got till March 20th to get through this stuff.
And we have Allison coming on in a little while, do the main phases, and she'll tell us, let winter be winter.
Yes.
Let Punxsutawney Phil do his thing.
Yep. 6 more weeks. Yeah. Story number 2, DOJ releases millions of pages of documents in the Epstein investigation.
Yeah.
The Justice Department released more than 3 million pages of files related to the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. The documents contain references to President Donald Trump and other figures, including Elon Musk, Bill Clinton, and former Obama White House counsel. An FBI list of allegations related to Trump, many of which appear to have come from unverified tips, is among the new documents. The White House referred the journalist to the Justice Department's statement that claimed that the claims are unfounded and false. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said the department has now completed its review of the Epstein files, and the White House had no oversight of the process. Of course, the release doesn't come without any issues. Names of previously unknown victims, at least 43 names, were unredacted, while many names of possible offenders were still redacted, which I think is the biggest thing I took from that. They were more than willing to put victims' names out, but still in a ton of documents, some highly suspected to be the president are still redacted and won't have the names out there. So,
well,
we'll see what happens there.
Like we don't know already.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into that. There's more to get into, but we'll go ahead and move on to story number 3.
Moving along.
More frigid temperatures expected in much of the U.S. after a weekend of heavy snow, as we talked about before. Extra cold conditions persisted all the way into this morning for a huge swath of the United States, from the Gulf Coast into New England. And they're after cleaning up after a weekend from the bomb cyclone, which brought heavy snow and flight cancellations to North Carolina, and flurries and falling iguanas in Florida.
I saw that. It's so sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had lots of iguanas in Cuba, so I can't imagine if it would have gotten
Well,
cold
it's
down
not just that they were passing out; they were having to euthanize them because they're an invasive species.
there. Oh, they're an invasive species. I guess that makes sense.
It's awful. There's like a pile
Yeah.
of dead iguanas.
I didn't realize that.
Terrible.
I didn't realize they were invasive.
Humanely euthanizing them. Give me a break.
Well, I mean, I guess a winter storm. I mean, it's kind of natural.
No, but they were
At that
going.
point.
They were going through and euthanizing them because they were passed out.
They weren't dying from falling out of the trees.
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought okay.
I could be wrong. I didn't read the whole thing. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
Iguanas were cool. They could also be very terrifying.
Yeah, they're kind of scary.
They came running up on you with their like crazy teeth, and
Yeah.
About 150 million people were under cold weather advisories and extreme cold warnings Sunday in the eastern portion of the United States, with single-digit temperatures in southern states and the coldest air mass in South Florida since December 1989. The bomb cyclone, known to meteorologists as an intense, rapidly strengthening weather system, contributed to nearly a foot of snow in and around Charlotte, North Carolina's largest city. The snowfall represented a top 5 snow event all time there.
Wow.
The Tampa, St. Petersburg area in Florida saw snow flurries while temperatures dropped to the 20s in the Panhandle and 30s in South Florida on Sunday. That's what we're talking about, the iguanas, cold stunned iguanas. The reptiles can die after more than a day of extreme cold. The cold also left ice on strawberries and oranges in the state. Farmers in Florida sometimes spray water on fruit trees and berry plants to protect them from the cold. More than 110 deaths connected to the wintry weather and storms have been reported around the U.S. since late January. In Tennessee and Mississippi, 2 states struck by a previous storm carrying snow and ice. More than 81,000 customers were still without electricity on Sunday.
Wow.
So lots of cold.
Mm-hmm.
Story number 4. Atomic scientists say that set the doomsday clock closer to midnight more than ever.
I kept seeing that, but I don't really understand what that meant.
It's a Cold War thing. So we'll talk about it here. Atomic scientists set their doomsday clock on Tuesday closer than ever to midnight, citing aggressive behavior by nuclear powers Russia, China, and the United States, fraying nuclear arms control, conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East, and AI worries among factors driving risks for global disaster. The bulletin of the atomic scientists set the clock to 85 seconds before midnight.
Oh, wow.
The theoretical point of annihilation.
I was going to start singing the Iron Maiden song, but it's not 85 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 2
minutes.
That's 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't even got that. 85 seconds. To midnight.
That is 4 seconds closer than it was set last year. The Chicago-based nonprofit created the clock in 1947 during the Cold War tensions that followed World War II to warn the public about how close humankind was to destroying the world.
Is that like the closest it's ever gotten, did it say?
Yes, the closest that it's ever been.
85 seconds.
The scientists voiced concern about threats of unregulated integration of artificial intelligence into military systems.
Ooh.
And its potential misuse in aiding the creation of biological threats. They also noted continuing challenges posed by climate change, which is one of the things I wanted to bring up, not necessarily a news article, but continuing kind of off this idea of climate change, but also this cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
We had talked before about the Gulf Coast, the stream, it takes the warm water from the Caribbean in the tropical region up the east coast of the United States into the North Atlantic and then over to Europe, which essentially is what keeps Europe warm enough to have people living
hospitable,
there.
Yeah.
And a very recent study that I read said that it's only 50% of what it used to be in terms of the water that's being carried up that stream. And historically, when that belt gets turned off, we are looking at ice age.
Yep.
And so quick, if you're not familiar with that, essentially the idea from scientists is that the less salt that's in the water, it helps turn off those warm water belts. And so we have warm water going north and then colder water coming back. So it's not just a stream, but it actually is a full conveyor belt bringing warm water to the north. Mm-hmm. And the more that the fresh water is melted off at the polar ice caps and entering the ocean helps create that, which could lead to an ice age. So keep an eye on the cold weather. Something to keep an eye on with that. Also with this doomsday clock.
It's all
And then the final story for tonight, there were giants in those days. Historians are scratching their heads at a resurfaced Egyptian scroll held by the British Museum that might support the claim that the biblical giants were in fact real. Anastasi I, a 3,300-year-old document that's been in the British Museum since 1839, has reignited the interest of the Associates for Biblical Research, a religious organization in Pennsylvania, has historians and researchers believing that these men of renown, giants, may have actually been real. The ancient document that is believed to be from the 13th century BCE mentions run-ins with the Shosu people who are supposedly 8 feet tall, which scared Israelites. To connect the dots, this document is proof beyond what is said in the Bible that giants existed. Numbers goes into a verse from the Old Testament here, also hints at Israelites coming back from these large figures. The scroll, which researchers believe to be a letter written by a scribe, says the narrow defile is infested with shosu concealed beneath the bushes. Some of them are of 4 cubits or 5 cubits from head to foot. Fierce of face, their heart is not mild, and they hearken not to coaxing.
There must have been some big bushes.
Or 5 cubits tall translates to a figure close to 8 feet tall. With all that being said, historians remain skeptical as there is reportedly no physical proof or archaeological evidence that the giants once existed. See the Smithsonian. On the flip side, claims of supersized humans from Central America roaming a remote town 90 miles northeast of Reno, Nevada are still baffling scientists all these years later. While many believe these red-headed, pale-skinned giants to be legend, some reports of discoveries, like a pair of miners allegedly came across 60 human skeletons, some measuring between 7 and 8 feet tall.
I have one that's a co-host of the Witching Hours.
Pale-skinned, red-haired giant, yeah.
And that was
weird news.
Weird news.
So, since we are at the beginning of February, tonight is the night we are going to bring on our very own friend Alice in Wonderland, the Priestess of Wonderland, to come talk about the moon phases and what's we got to deal with maybe for the rest of this winter, besides the cold weather.
Do you really want to know?
I don't know, Allison. I mean, he made it sound like it was already bad. Did he know something I don't know? Were you just assuming it was bad?
Well, probably because 2026 started off the way that it did, and it's just going to continue. The roller coaster ride is going to continue, and February is one of the more up and down kind of months.
Good things.
But I don't know. I have some good feelings about it, mostly because I just like February in general, because half of February is Aquarius season. It's weirdo season. And then the other half of February is Pisces season. So it's the dreamy romantic season. And so I just like February in general. And with all of this other volatile, chaotic things happening, I could see this month having the potential of really cool art coming out, because we have to do something with all of this, everything that's getting thrown up in the air, and this all of this aggression and all of these feelings and everything that we're feeling. And because half of this month is all Pisces energy, it has the idea or the potential to be very creative, to like channel all of that aggression into something. And the image that keeps coming into my mind are the, like, thinking of like the really famous photographs that like speak 1,000 words. Like I think of like the VJ photo of the sailor kissing the woman and like he like throws her back and they're embracing right in Times Square. Or I think of like the image of the lady putting, or the girl putting flowers in the barrels of the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that this month has the potential to having some really beautiful, creative things coming out amongst all of the chaos. So first of all, yesterday, or when we're still feeling the Leo full moon energy, yesterday was the Leo full moon. The moon is still in Leo, and it's moving into Virgo tonight around 10 o'clock. So you can kind of feel that residual energy of it almost feels like to me that like I went to a concert last night and my ears are still ringing. Like it just has this very loud Leo, like I'm here kind of moon. And especially like you guys didn't get snow, but like the full moon when there's snow on the ground, it's like,
ours is still left over from last time.
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So yes.
Yeah,
Like
it still
daylight out
looks
there.
like snow.
Yeah,
It's just
it
you can ice skate on
illuminated and illuminated the whole backyard because it was
Yeah, and
reflecting
that
off of
was the
snow.
energy of this full moon, just putting the spotlight on stuff.
Mhm.
And tomorrow Uranus goes direct, and Uranus is the planet of liberation and freedom and revolution. So that's where this like chaotic kind of energy comes from. And Uranus last year moved into Gemini, which kind of showed us the other side of things, like the underbelly of what's really going on beneath the surface amongst our everything.
Everything. Yeah.
So it moved into Gemini last year, and then it went retrograde in September and went back into Taurus. So we're going to feel that shift of Uranus going direct, but I don't think we're going to feel the like chaotic energy of it until it goes into Gemini again in April, which it doesn't have to be chaotic and it doesn't have to be volatile, but it's going to be kind of up and down. Which side is it? Whose face are you? Like, what's the truth? And
Whose
having
name's
those
redacted?
conversations to get the truth out there, to understand what's happening. So, I mean, that's just this week, Uranus going direct. But then the planets are slowly moving into Pisces. So it brings in this romantic, dreamy, subconscious kind of energy. So Mercury goes into Pisces on the 6th. So at the end of this week, then Venus goes into Pisces on the 10th. The sun moves into Pisces on the 18th. So half of this month is like very kind of like throwing things up in the air, and then like I imagine like throwing confetti up in the air and then like making some sort of art with it when it falls. So the other big thing happening this month is on the 13th, Saturn moves into Aries. That was when Saturn moved into Aries last year. It was kind of the start, the ignition of the dumpster fire.
Oh, great.
So like Uranus, it went retrograde back into Pisces, and now
I thought we already started that fire this year.
I know it's a very much a continuation of the dumpster fire that started last year. It kind of simmered down, and now it's going to like re-explode again.
Somebody's putting a lighter fluid on it.
So then at the end of this month, we have our new moon in Aquarius, which again, we like the weirdo Aquarius energy, but it is our first solar eclipse of this year. And so we are starting eclipse season. There's also a Mercury retrograde at the end of this month too. So there's just a lot of unearthing.
Seems like early for the eclipse.
It is, but I think we kind of have eclipses we have 4 a year, and I think it just depends on what sign it's in, and that's depends or determines what time of year it's going to be. So this is the first of the Aquarius eclipses that we're going to experience, and it's just the last few years we've had them in the spring.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so it is early. It's not uncommon. It does happen, but it is early, and this is the first of Aquarius. So Aquarius eclipses can, I think, bring about the need to make changes and innovations and advancement in technology, and to show your true face, and to not be wearing a mask, and to be the unique weirdo that you were put on earth to be.
All the things we need right now.
Yeah, so lots of potential for good things to come out of it, but we had to stir everything up in order to make shifts and changes and evolutions and have conversations
and dig through the dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, as we enter, February, we're having Rob Thompson on next week for the Valentine's Week show. What would the moon and astrology say for any prospective romance for the month of February?
Well, all of the Pisces energy, like Venus in Pisces, Mercury in Pisces, it's very poetic and beautiful. And so I think it has the potential to create the art, like I was saying, but it does have this like hopeless romantic feeling to it. Pisces energy does. So, and that's all happening right around Valentine's Day, which I don't know if it's just a coincidence that Pisces season is Valentine's Day season, but
probably not.
Pisces is very dreamy and romantic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Allison.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Always enjoy hearing what's going on for the month, even if it just means it's more dumpster fire.
Dumpster fires.
All right. Goodbye, Allison. Thank you.
Keisha said that's enough. You can leave now. All right. Micahel Schratt, a private pilot and military aerospace historian, has lectured across the country on the unique subject of mystery aircraft and classified propulsion systems buried deep within the military-industrial complex. Micahel has developed a number of contacts which have had firsthand experience dealing with classified black programs, including former U.S. Air Force pilots, retired naval personnel, and aerospace engineers that have maintained a top secret, sensitive, compartmented information clearance. He has appeared on multiple media platforms, including the vaunted Coast to Coast AM, History Channel, Paranormal Matrix, UFO Hunters, and Fade to Black. Please welcome back for the third time to this program.
Yay!
Mike Schratt. How are you doing, Micahel? Well, it's great to have you back on the show again.
I'm glad to be back.
Sure, we were talking about it earlier. I mean, from the first show, you can go all the way back to, I don't know how far you want to go back, but, there's always been the idea of UFOs and crashes and recoveries. But I think I was astonished the first time we had you on to find out how much this was going on before Roswell. Because typically, I think for a lot of people who are just kind of getting into the UFO phenomenon, Roswell tends to be the starting point, but it's not. And then I think last time we made it up. Did you remember?
We made it to 1963. So
yeah, and it was
we've had you on twice, and we've only made it to 1963.
Talked about so much. There's so much going on. So we're excited to see where we where we get to tonight.
But before we jump into back into the timeline here, Frosty, did you want to bring up the orb thing that you were talking about?
We had mentioned in the news a little while back, and it had come up again tonight, the Boogosphere, and kind of stuff that was going on in South America. Did you have any thoughts on that, or I imagine you're familiar with that phenomenon?
I'm somewhat familiar with it. I can't say I've done a full analysis on the subject, but I'm a little skeptical that it's something ET. It certainly looks like a man-made technology to me, but I haven't seen it personally, so I really can't comment on it.
Okay. And I guess the other thing that we could kind of do an update on, we talked about it last time. So any idea, any thoughts on anything that's going on in terms of government
Any new
all these
thoughts on disclosure stuff?
Congressional
Well,
hearings and such.
we've been in this game for 80 years now, and it looks like they just keep on kicking the can down the road with these congressional hearings. We never really get anywhere with them. There's no physical evidence produced. There's no bodies. There's no craft. There's no debris, no hardware. And we're left on our own here. You know, we have one or two whistleblowers come forward. What we need are 24 whistleblowers coming together as a united coalition with physical evidence that would make an impact. Regardless of that, you know, I don't see how we're going to get anywhere. And, you know, they keep on using the term legacy UAP crash retrieval program. What they're referring to in point of fact, when they make that statement, they're talking about Leonard Stringfield's original crash retrieval witnesses. That's what they're referring to.
Yeah. So they're talking about exactly what you've been, you know, talking about and lecturing on.
Yeah, I mean, they're highlighting the military personnel that Leonard tracked down decades ago, the people who held the bodies, people who loaded craft up onto tractor trailers and shipped them to multiple locations. Edwards North Base, MacDill Air Force Base, Homestead Air Force Base, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, pathologists, doctors, X-ray technicians, people who actually dealt with the bodies. That's the caliber of witnesses that Leonard had dealt with. And why it's not getting reported in Congress is beyond me, you know.
Has anybody from Washington or anybody who's been associated with any of these talks contacted you to get?
Not me. I'm not on the radar screen. I'm small fries, you know. So, but that's okay. As long as we keep the dream alive here, I suppose that's fine. But that's what it's going to take. It's very simple. What's needed. And it's a united, it could be 12, it could be 24, the more the better, but they need to come out as a group, not piecemealing over 7-8 months at a time. We're never going to get there.
Yeah.
And, you know, now you've got the defense contractors involved because David Grush said we have an ongoing UAP crash retrieval program, engineering. So now you've got the major players, everybody at Air Force Plant 42, they're probably involved. And so what that does is it takes it out of the realm of classified, but it throws it into the realm of proprietary. And so that's where it leaves us in the dark because we can't FOIA these things.
Yeah.
They're protected from FOIA, so we can't go after it. And the other thing is that this is such a monolithic thing. It's debatable exactly what the Department of Defense even knows or what filing category they're using, because we can't even get Gordon Cooper's 1957 Edwards Air Force Base film released. We can't even get that far. How are we going to get to the bodies if we can't even get that much?
Did you watch that documentary that came out? What was it called? Age of Disclosure? Did you watch it? What did you think?
I thought it was well produced, but again, it didn't move the ball forward. Here we are. It's been 3 months since then, and we're still here. You know, we're still here.
I thought the same thing. My thoughts on Age of Disclosure was exactly that. It was very well done. I think there was good information there. I think if you're someone who's interested in the UFO and ET phenomena, you know, it was great for you to watch. I enjoyed it. I had my popcorn and I sat back and enjoyed it. But like you said, it didn't really progress anything. No. You know, if you've been in this field or, you know, whether you're someone who's giving lectures on it or someone, you know, who's, you know, just kind of keeping up casual, I mean, we know that the government's been involved in this. And so by the time the documentary was over, I was like, well, that's great. I mean, I guess it's a good summary for someone who's like, hey, what's going on with this UFO thing? It's a great thing to watch and sit down and maybe get caught up to speed, but there wasn't anything new. There was no smoking gun.
I thought it was interesting just how many big named people came and they were able to talk to them about it. And for the most part, they didn't really say that it wasn't. But, you know, like we've been saying, there was still never any, you know, there's no film footage. There's no documentation. There's no there's still no evidence. They're just still kicking the can, like you said.
They have warehouses full of gun camera footage from World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, Desert Storm, they've got it, like the P-51 footage, the F-94 footage. Where is all that footage? There are thousands of these film reels. And we know for a fact that after World War II, we had B-29s flying over the Arctic regions, completely outfitted with cameras and monitoring equipment, still cameras, motion picture film reel cameras, where they're flying over the Arctic regions, and a dish-shaped craft comes off one of these icebergs and then comes up to the fuselage of the B-29, no more than 20 feet away from the fuselage of the B-29, parks itself behind the trailing edge of the main wing and ahead of the leading edge of the horizontal stabilizer, and is in sync with the B-29 while all the cameras were rolling, and they got it on film. Where is that footage? I mean, how are we going to move forward with congressional hearings if we can't even get to that footage? And who knows where it is?
Yeah.
Like when one of the secret keepers or the gatekeepers dies and passes away, like Dick Cheney just did, because he's like the ultimate gatekeeper. Now that he's gone, does he know where those file numbers are? Does he know what film reels this is in? Yeah. How are we going to know if he dies? Was that information passed on? Who knows? I mean, we're totally flying blind.
Yeah.
We're totally flying blind.
I think you make a great point, because if there is something that they do at least highlight in that documentary, it is that it's the idea that there is kind of like this kind of, shadow government entity, whatever, that knows that has access to these things, but no one knows who they are, and it operates outside of the purview of our government.
Yeah.
And so I think at least that was kind of made clear.
And these whistleblowers, they keep on saying that I cannot speak because I'm still bound under my national security oath, my non-disclosure agreement. What we need is legislation put in place that absolves them of all of that. I don't know if that's happened yet. So, we're still a ways out here. And until we get the bodies and the hardware, we're totally spinning our wheels. We really are. And these people in Congress, the senators and congressmen in Washington, D.C., they haven't been read in on the programs, and they don't have a need to know. They don't have a high enough security clearance. So it's debatable if we're ever going to get there.
And I can't remember. I know we've discussed this before, but kind of going back to the Brookings Institute study and stuff. How do you feel about that right now? Do you feel like, for the most part, our society is ready for disclosure?
Well, we'd hope so, right? After 80 years of this acclamation, slow drip process with movies and TVs and radios and all sorts of different media has been pumping this for so long now.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if and when this comes out, I think there will be a small percentage that will not take this well, but that's going to be such a small percentage. I'd say 5%. There will be religious implications to this, and there will be a small percentage that have a hard time dealing with this. But by and large, the vast majority, I think we're ready to move on. You still have to go to work the next day. You still have to pay your taxes.
Yep.
Life will go on. I mean, we don't have a choice.
Yeah, you still got to figure out what's for dinner, right?
Yeah.
I know that's something.
The laundry ain't going to do itself.
I'll throw it back on both of you. What do you feel? Do you think we're ready if they made an announcement?
Well, I'm not sure. I'll put it this way. I think that there's a lot of people who are ready. You said, we've been drip fed. I come from the 1980s. So when I was a little kid, it was E.T.
That's what I was going to say.
It was E.T. and,
we should have been fine after E.T. E.T. should have been like, yep, let's do it.
Which I think is very interesting. That Spielberg has another disclosure film coming out this summer. But yeah, I think there's been possibly a concerted effort to try to prepare the public for some kind of disclosure. On the other hand, though, not only do I think that this could cause a serious consequence with, certain religious groups and things like that, but what about the energy corporations and things like that are, if you run Exxon and all of a sudden we have a way to get free energy, it could cause a lot of issues.
The
So I'm not sure.
multi-trillion dollar utilities industries.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because you just, energy is just one part of that. I mean, it would revolutionize, things as we know it, depending on how much how much technology we were actually able to get out of
Which
that.
I think we're at that point where we need all of those things. So,
Well, what about you, Jenny?
I kind of agree with Michael. I think it would be a small percentage. I think we've gotten to the point where they've trickled it on us long enough, and most people are probably going to be okay with it. And I think we talked about on this the last time Michael was on too. But so many other cultures in the world already have this as part of their belief system. So it's just us.
Yeah.
It's just us always being the last ones on the boat,
Well, it's also interesting too, because we talk about the U.S. government, but this is a worldwide, phenomenon. So it's like, one of the things that was brought up in Congress and stuff as well is the idea that there could be some kind of essential, like, new kind of Cold War arms race between us and Russia and China with whatever we already have, or gathering more information, because now it's being seen as like, who can, who's going to, I don't know, whether get the technology or contact or whatever, first.
But Michael, don't you think they've already been doing that? That's kind of what this has all been anyway.
Well, the other part of it is we've got lawsuits, potential thousands of lawsuits that would be going on because these programs sidestep the Constitution. So that's another thing. People have been injured. People have perhaps been killed over this. So there could be thousands of lawsuits could be as an effect to this. So that might be another reason why they keep it under wraps.
Yeah.
Well, that was another thing that was brought up in the documentary, is the idea that they would almost need to go through and give everybody a get out of jail free card for all the crimes that have been committed to cover it up. Which at first I was like,
they're real good
no
about
way.
that already. So,
but at the same time, even though my heart tells me to disagree with that, I think they're right. I don't know if you would ever actually get any information unless you were to give like a complete, absolvement of that. So
who knows?
There we go.
There has to be a very good reason for them to come forward. They're not going to come forward just to satisfy us, the general public. That we know. So there must be a reason for them to come forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump back into your timeline here. Last time we ended on the 1963 Cherry Point, North Carolina story. And I believe correct me if I'm wrong, but had we moved on from the Leonard Stringfield cases to, I think, was it Ryan Woods? So is that the correct name? Or is it kind of like a combination of the two?
Couple things we can do. We can either continue where we left off, or we can go dive into some historical UFO cases. Whichever one you feel you want to do. I'm set up for that one right now.
Yeah, I'm fine with delving into some historical cases.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen here. Okay, let's see here. Window, here, share. Okay, do you see this on your end?
I can add it to stage. It looks
there
like
we go.
There we go.
I got it.
Yeah.
All right, slideshow from beginning. And then, let's see, I think I need to do one more thing here. Let's see, close this down. Let's see. Okay, I need to do this book thing here. Okay. All right. Let's see if that works. So you see that on your end?
Looks good on our end. Yep.
Okay. And then if I advance one, does it advance on your side?
It does.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So the title of this presentation, UFO Magical Mystery Tour. And what this is kind of a compilation of, I would say, 30 years of digging into files, going into microfiche, going into university archives, pulling out these old newspaper clippings. That's what this is. This isn't just let's go search on the internet and right click and save as. No, this is getting down into the archives, doing the dirty work things that other people don't want to do, musty files, files that have been eaten by rats.
Oh,
that's the area I like to get into. The real down into the files here. And then couple of quick announcements. The visual aids used in this presentation are computer generated forensic composite illustrations from actual UFO case files and eyewitness reports. So if anyone wants to follow along, this is where I'm getting the information here. QFOS, Center for UFO Studies, NICAP, APRO, MUFON, Invisible Residents by Ivan T. Sanderson, which is a great book on USOs, Uninvited Guest by Richard Hall, National UFO Historical Records Center, UFO News Clipping Service. We talked about Leonard Stringfield, Gray Barker UFO Collection, that's Clarksburg, West Virginia. And then just good old-fashioned boots on the ground research. This information, we own it all, right? We paid for a lot of this with our own tax dollars. So a case could be made that we own this information here. And I like to start here. Did the ancient Egyptians report sightings of UFOs? We've heard this before, but is there any paperwork? Is there any documentation? Any breadcrumbs for us to follow so that we can pin this down here? So that's why I want to highlight this book by Jacques Vallée, Wonders in the Sky. And he's got a chapter in here that talks about this case, which I think is interesting. 1347 BC, El Armana, Nile River Valley, Egypt, Akhenaten's flying disc. Pharaoh Akhenaten had a unique experience that was to shape Egyptian history. According to the inscription on the frontier stela found in the circumference of El Armana, Akhenaten was strolling along the river, admiring the splendors of nature one summer morning when he looked up and saw, quote, a shining disc descend from the sky. So here we've got a really early report from 1347 BC. And I want to give you kind of the names, the dates, the location, so that you can verify this on your own here. Now, did the ancient Romans report sightings of UFOs as early as 100 BC? That's the next question we want to ask. So then I ran across this article, Evening Star, June 14th, 1959. Flying saucers of Roman days were shields. Even the ancient Romans of 2,000 years ago saw flying saucers, but they linked them to flying shields.
Yeah.
This is probably the meaning of a passage in the work by Julius, I won't mention the guy's last name, a 4th century Latin poet, says Nabi Railsback, a classic scholar from Moline, Illinois, who is studying in Rome. He says he came across the sentence in one of the writings referring to a phenomenon reported observed near Rome in 100 BCE. And all this is in numeric order here. Quote, at sunset, a circular object like a shield was seen to sweep across the sky from west to east. So you can see what they did here. They compared things that they were familiar with to what they were seeing in the skies.
Yeah.
That's exactly what was going on here, which makes a lot of sense here.
And they wouldn't know what a tea saucer is. You're going to compare it in a lot of ways. A shield might even be a better
description. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
And I just wanted to back up to the Egyptian thing for a second. There's in the woo-woo world, the spiritual world, there's a whole history from channeled information about specifically Akhenaten being connected with some ET friends.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
So the fact that you have a documentation there that says that he saw this, it just verifies it to me.
And and historically, he changes the Egyptians' religion, right?
He's the only one that puts it as makes the religion a single god, and causes a lot of problems. Yep.
Huh. Okay. All right, let's continue. So is this what the Romans saw in 100 BC? Something like this? It's certainly possible. But I think it's important that we take a look and examine these prehistory UFO cases.
Yeah, for sure.
October 12th, this is all part of the Otto Binder reports. October 12th, 1796. On Columbus Day, over 170 years ago, Canadian observers reported an astonishing fleet of airships, UFOs, with portholes and visible occupants sailing over the Bay of Fundy from the Pacific Stars and Stripes. So here we've got 1796.
Wow.
People are seeing these UFOs, these egg-shaped craft with portholes and occupants inside. So I want to see if we can make this a little bit more realistic. And here's our full color rendering. This gives you an idea of what people were seeing in 1796 here. Next one.
It kind of looks like the Tic Tacs.
Yeah, it looks like the Tic Tac. That's right. That's right. November 13th, 1833. I really like this one. A crowd on both the American and Canadian sides saw a peculiar square-shaped UFO hover over Niagara Falls for an hour, after which it sped away toward the ocean. So this is 1833. The Wright brothers didn't fly until December 17th, 1903.
Yeah.
So who's building these square cube-shaped UFOs that can hover with no visible means of propulsion, no ailerons, no wings, no fuselage, no propellers, no jets? Something is going on here. Let me take you to our full color rendering. Something like this was seen back in 1833.
Wow. Cube.
And so I'm asking the question, are we dealing with multiple things kind of converging at the same time here? So obviously we've got man-made UFOs. That's fine. It looks like we may have extraterrestrial UFOs. We may have interdimensional UFOs. We may have extratemporal UFOs. And then we've got USOs, unidentified submerged objects. And all these things are converging at the same time. And so it's very difficult to pin down exactly what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I would also imagine that, if you have ETs coming from different places, they may not have ships that look the same or whatever they are. Mm-hmm. And so I think, that's another explanation, I guess, for, why some of these things can look so different from each other as well.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next one. July 1868, villagers in Chile were frightened by a giant armor-plated machine covered with steel scales whose twin searchlight eyes stabbed down brilliantly. I love the description here. Mm-hmm. So we got 1868, we're flying over Campajo, Chile, and then you've got a steel-plated craft with scales on it with some type of power source to be able to illuminate searchlights beaming down on the city below. Back in 1868, the power source you would need for lights of that, intensity would be very difficult. Let's move on to the next full color rendering here. Something like this was seen back in 1868. 19th century's most
armor plated. That's interesting too, because it's always interesting to hear people describing things in the context of the language that that they have at the time. Yeah.
That's right. 19th century's most outstanding sighting was in 1874 at Oaxaca, Mexico, where a giant trumpet hovered in the sky, swinging gently for 6 minutes, observed by many stunned people. So
a
trumpet flying over Oaxaca, Mexico, 1874, long before the Wright brothers, long before Kenneth Arnold. So I thought, let me see if I can take this to the next level, and we'll do a full color rendering. And this is what I came up with. This was seen over Oaxaca, Mexico. And that town has had a very distinct history of UFO sightings, ongoing to this day for some reason.
That's interesting.
Next one.
I don't know if I've heard the trumpet shape before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a one-off. 1897 mystery airship wave. That's what we want to talk about here. No discussion about UFOs would be complete unless we talk about the 1897 mystery airship wave. And what people were reporting was a large craft with a gondola below. There was a wing to the right and left. There appeared to be some type of rudder in the back. And this was reported for west coast to the east coast. There were well-dressed inventors with top hats on. They were all wearing these black tuxedos. There were big black dogs seen on the deck of these craft. There was laughter coming from these craft. There were anchors being lowered from these craft. And then down on the towns below, Sacramento, San Francisco, the people in town they couldn't believe what they were seeing. There were these beaming spotlights shining down. Horses were bolting from one side to the other. Covered wagons were flipped over. There was just total chaos. But the point I want to make here is, here again, we've got these beaming spotlights shining down. And I'm going to go to the next slide here. First UFO seen by thousands over California in 1896. So this is San Francisco, Sunday morning, November 26, 1896. And the point we want to make is that there were so many newspaper clippings and sightings that this goes beyond yellow journalism. A lot of people think this is just yellow journalism. No, it's not. When you really read these reports and all the newspaper clippings, something was going on back then. This is another rendering here. So you've got this different type of a craft. We've got a wing on either side. We've got this anchor coming down. We've got this beaming spotlight. This is just another rendering of what people reported.
That one's a very strange one with the people on it with top hats and dogs. And
top hats and dogs. Yes.
Oh, it's so
Absolutely.
Bizarre.
It is screaming a man-made technology.
Yeah.
Now, most of these sightings happened at night. There were a few instances where these craft landed during the daytime, and when people ran up to these craft and they had an interaction with the quote-unquote pilots, that they said that the pilots were wearing smoke-colored glasses. They were wearing sunglasses. So it's screaming a man-made technology. A couple of items here. The wave actually began on November 18th, 1896 in Sacramento. Object cast down brilliant beams of light on the city before it moved towards San Francisco. Eyewitnesses described the craft as being 150 feet in length with 4 rotor-like arms. In some cases, anchors attached to ropes were dropped from the mysterious craft, and laughter could be heard originating from the interior, which I think is interesting. By May of 1897, virtually all the sightings ended.
It's a party ship. It was a California party ship.
Or like they're trying to pull one over on us all.
Yeah.
Something like that. The Record Union, Sacramento, California, November 23rd, 1896, a genuine aerial ship. The strange visitors seen there on Saturday evening. Yesterday's San Francisco Call has the following account of the airship having been seen over Oakland on Saturday evening. Again, this is what these reports are talking about. This like contraption craft with well-dressed, eccentric inventor types on the deck of these craft, big black dogs on the deck of these ships.
It's like a steampunk.
A steampunk airship. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
Only in California.
And that would have been what? Just before, that would have been after the invention of the hot air balloon, but before the invention of the Zeppelin, right? Because that's the closest thing I can think of what that would be like, kind of that same timeline.
The same timeline. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Again, this is November 29th, 1896, the Sacramento Call, and they go into great detail of what was seen. Now, here it is in the Capitol, and you've got 2 witnesses looking out, and they see this craft. I'm going to blow this up a little bit, and then we'll see if we can go to a full color rendering. Something like this was seen back in 1896. Yeah. And let's move forward here. Now, according to Walter Bosley, who did a great book called Origins, and he talks about these, we could be looking at the Sonora Aero Club as part of a program to move the gold from the gold fields of the West Coast over to the bankers on the East Coast, but do it secretly. Is that what was going on here?
Huh.
So that's something to consider. Yeah, it's the Sonora Aero Club was probably involved in this. So if you take everything from these newspaper clippings and you feed this into AI and you tell AI to give us a full color rendering based on the eyewitness reports, the newspaper clippings, the sighting reports, this is what we're going to get. So I'm going to rip through a couple of these full color illustrations here of just what people were seeing in town when these things were flying over. We always have these big airbags. We have these mechanical structures. We've got beaming spotlights shining down on the towns below. Here's another version here. And this is directly driven from those articles and newspaper clippings. We'll do a couple more here, but they all have kind of the same idea, some type of a flying vehicle, inventors on top with these beaming spotlights coming down. And then I think we'll do one more on the airship wave. This has got a very high intensity light coming down. This is what people were reporting, 1896, 1897. Wow. So now we want to move on, and this is all in numeric order here. Newcastle Sun, January 3rd, 1945. Foo Fighters are latest. Pilots flying over Germany at night report that strange balls of fire are following them around on their missions. They have christened these strange phenomenon Foo Fighters. So if we move on here, we've got Allied B-17s encountering Foo Fighters over Berlin in 1944. So this is the ball bearing plants in Berlin. Mm-hmm. And we've got the B-17 pilots in the European theater encountering these red, orange, yellow, and white colored orbs that would circle the formation of B-17s and then peel off. So it's the reliability and the credibility of our World War II bomber pilots and fighter pilots that make for very good firsthand military witnesses. So not only was it the B-17s, but it was the B-24 Liberators. They saw the Foo Fighters as well, all within the European theater. And then, of course, we've got American B-29 bombers encounter Foo Fighters over Tokyo on May 23rd, 1943. These witness reports from our American bomber pilots, they cannot be denied. This is absolutely going on. This can't be pushed under the carpet, no matter what the government wants to do to try to make anything prior to the Nimitz encounter with the F-18 Super Hornets disappear. We're not going to let them, because we've got hundreds of American pilots in the European Pacific theater that reported these Foo Fighters here. So
I was familiar with Foo Fighters, but I didn't realize that they were essentially like a sphere of light. For some reason, I was just imagining them as being like the saucer type. So that's interesting.
They were balls or orbs of red, orange, and yellow color. Wow. And they would fly around the B-17s. They unloaded, 50 caliber shells on these things, no effect whatsoever. In fact, some of these things went right through the fuselage of the B-17s and went out the other side.
Whoa.
Which is very interesting.
That was talked about as well. So whatever or whoever was responsible, there was an intelligent control behind them.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think about 10 years ago, there was another, it might have been longer than that now. There was another big wave of people seeing orange orbs that were being reported to MUFON quite a bit. And on the East Coast specifically. And I remember my sister calling me to ask me what might be going on because she was driving down Route 5 and had a whole bunch of, she said like 3 or 4 orbs just come fly over her car, like headed towards Virginia Beach. And like, but she said they were low, but they were just these bright orange spheres. And she's like, what could that have been? And I was like, well, let me tell you. But for 1 second, let's stop for just 1 minute. It is a little bit past 9 here on the Witching Hours. So if you have joined us since the beginning of the show, we are joined tonight by Micahel Schratt. We are talking about UFO reportings in history. So if you have any questions, make sure you put them in chat. We can get those to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Wherever you're listening to us, you can always give us a little like or subscribe or click whatever button you can on wherever you're watching us, and we would truly appreciate it. And like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in chat, and we'll make sure we get those live over to Micahel as we continue on with our discussion tonight. If you are watching the show or hanging out with us now, then you already know Medium Jenny Lee. But did you know you can book a private session, explore her spiritual services, or check out her latest content all in one place? Head over to mediumjennylee.com. Whether you're seeking guidance, answers from beyond, or just curious about what the spirit world has to say, Jenny offers personal readings, mentorship, and more. Don't miss your chance to connect directly. Visit mediumjennylee.com and take the next step on your spiritual journey. Your journey to the weird is just a click away. In a world of mass production, there's still a place where fire meets steel and tradition comes alive. At Vincent's Forge, every piece is forged by hand, unique, durable, and built to last. Each creation carries the mark of true craftsmanship. Own something forged by fire. Own something that tells a story. Vincent's Forge, handcrafted, unforgettable. Available now on Etsy.
Okay, so we want to move on to this case, which I really love. August 13th, 1947, Twin Falls, Idaho, Snake River Canyon. So just to set this up, the primary eyewitnesses were two young boys that were going down the river in a raft, and they finished their boat ride. They were pulling the raft off to the side. They were rolling up a rope. Their father was up on the canyon wall looking down on them. Now, all of a sudden, something that looks like all the world, like Abraham Lincoln's top hat cut down to the last 1/3, comes screaming through the canyon here. It was banking and janking, and it was navigating the canyon. Over 1,000 miles an hour, this thing was doing it.
Wow.
And it was causing no sonic boom. Again, it looked like Abraham Lincoln's top hat cut down to the last 1/3. Now, they said that there was an engine pod on either side of the center line with some type of an atomic discharge coming out of it. It wasn't a campfire flame. It wasn't an afterburner. It looked something different. It was different than a flames coming out. This is absolutely what they reported. So I thought this is interesting because what did we have back in 1947? The best we had was the F-86 Saberjet, but it could not exceed Mach 1 in level flight. So who had the technology to build this back in 1947, going over Mach 1, navigating the canyon walls, and creating no sonic boom back in 1947? We need to find this out. Let's go to the next slide here. The Times News, August 15th, 1947. So here's the newspaper clipping. And it says, flying saucer reported flashing down canyon at 1,000 miles per hour. 2 others are seen.
Definitely looks like a hat.
It looks like a hat. Yep.
Yeah.
It looks like a hat with a pod on either side of it. I want to know who's building these. I want to know who's flying these. What's the purpose here? Let's continue on. Here's another artist rendition of what this thing looks like. Again, August 13th, 1947. Okay, next one, July 24th, 1948, Montgomery, Alabama. This was at night. Pilot and co-pilot flying a Eastern Airlines DC-3 near Montgomery, Alabama. All of a sudden, they witnessed a 100-foot-long cigar-shaped craft with a pointed nose with a double row of light-colored, burning bright magnesium lights that like did a hairpin turn. Now they had to do an evasive maneuver. And you can see the DC-3 is in a left bank trying to avoid this thing. And when they landed, they were debriefed. And this was a watershed case because the United States Air Force could not poo-poo the reliability of the co-pilot and the pilot of this craft. They couldn't do it. They had to accept this as a reliable pilot sighting because the credibility of the witness. So this really changed the tide on UFO sightings here. Here's another illustration that gives you an idea what this thing looks like. A little over 100 feet in length, and it had a large tail that came up, and then it had these burning magnesium lights as this thing did a hairpin turn and flew away. But they got a good look at this. Let me go to the newspaper clipping. Alabama Journal, July 24th, 1948. Fiery sky monster reported seen just southwest of Montgomery. EAL pilots, Eastern Airline pilots, claim craft traveled over 500 miles an hour. Looks like B-29 fuselage blown up 4 times. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
It's a very weird shape.
I love it.
It is. Yeah.
Because, now we're talking about things that go back to 48. We've got 2 UFOs have been rebranded UAPs, and anything prior to the Nimitz encounter doesn't exist. But here we go. We're already 3 or 4 in here.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Let's go on here. Astronaut Gordon Cooper. Okay, a couple of things to talk about regarding Gordon Cooper, original Mercury 7 astronaut. Number 1, he wrote a letter to the United Nations regarding UFOs in 1978. He was involved in 2 UFO-related incidents. One of them was a attempted intercept over West German Air Base in 1951. Number 2, he was involved in a UFO incident that took place at Edwards Air Force Base back in 1957. Let's go on here to the first one. And he talks about both of these encounters in his book, Leap of Faith by Gordon Cooper. So if anyone wants to follow along and wants to get more information on Gordon Cooper's interaction with the UFO phenomenon, this is a good book to take a look at here. So we've got West Germany, 1951. On 2 consecutive weekends, the meteorologist at the base came toward Gordon Cooper and said, you know what? I'm tracking fleets of these silver-colored, shiny, dish-shaped craft. They were metallic. They had domes on top. This has been going on for 2 weeks now. I just thought you guys should know this. So Gordon Cooper turned to his wingman and said, you know what? I'm tired of hearing about these reports. Let's see if we can intercept one of these things. Mm-hmm. So they climb in their F-86 Sabre jets. They go at a 45-degree angle, and they're trying to climb up to the altitude of where these discs were. And nope, it didn't happen. The other thing is that these craft had the capability of backing up. They can make 90-degree left-hand turns. Their flight path characteristics outpaced our best F-86 Sabre jets. So that's something to keep in mind here. And we'll go on to Corvallis Gazette Times, October 11th, 2004. And here it says, earlier in 1951, Cooper and other personnel several times sighted an entire formation of circular objects passing over their Air Force base in West Germany. Quote, we never could get close enough in our Sabre jets to pin them down, but they were round in shape and very metallic looking. So here we have Gordon Cooper telling us point blank, they couldn't intercept these things, whatever these things were. They couldn't intercept it. Yeah. So some type of intelligence was outpacing our best jet fighters. June 17th, 1952, Hasselbeck, Germany. And we want to highlight the source here, MUFON Journal. This is November 1980, and Hynek UFO Report, 1977. So just to set this up, we've got the mayor of Hasselbeck, Germany, with his 11-year-old daughter. They're on a motorcycle. Now, this is one of those motorcycles that had a sidecar, and the 11-year-old daughter was in the sidecar, and they're going down the road near their town. He was the mayor. All of a sudden, the motorcycle conked out. So they both climbed out and were pushing the motorcycle back in the direction of town. Now, the little daughter that you see off to the left, she looked down in this open field that you see in our illustration here. What she originally thought she saw were 2 young deer. That's what she thought. That's what she thought. And I'm going to move on to the next slide here. A close encounter from East Germany. This kind of gives you an idea of what this looks like. Now, as they got closer, these weren't deer. These were small-statured, humanoid-looking beings with oversized heads. They had a one-piece, tight-fitting flight suit on. One of them had what looked like a camera or optical lens, and he was moving from left to right. And these beings looked like they were examining the grass on the ground. I mean, just bizarre. They were just looking at the grass on the ground. Now, when these 2 beings saw they were being watched by the 2 witnesses, they climbed on the rim of this disc that you see in this illustration. They hopped up onto the conning tower of this craft. That conning tower pushed through the center of the vehicle, went down through the center, lifting up the rim of the disc. So now I'm going to move on to the next slide here. Here is Oscar and Gabriella Linke. These are the 2 primary eyewitnesses, and they're describing what they saw here. Here's the original sketch that went with the report. And when that conning tower went through the bottom of the craft, it lifted up the main craft, and there's a double row of exhaust ports wrapped around the outer circumference. There were tongues of flames coming out of these exhaust ports. The whole thing lifted off the ground and flew away. In a nutshell, that is the case here. So here's Rudy's drawing that shows you the dish-shaped craft. You've got the humanoid-looking beings examining the grass for some reason. We've got the conning tower on top. We've got the double row of exhaust ports. and then we've got the craft flying away. So very interesting case.
Yeah,
and it was
that
the
is
mayor of the town. I don't think there was any reason for him to lie. This is what it looked like when it flew away.
That is interesting.
Weird that you've got a few that have fire involved. So I think that's kind of unusual for that to be something that people are seeing on there.
You would think if it was an alien technology, hundreds of thousands of years in advance of us, they'd be flying in some other type craft. But here we've got flames coming out, which I think is interesting. Here is the sworn affidavit signed. And then we move on to the CIA report. This is dated August 23rd, 1952. So we've got CIA documentation on this. Here is the Times Tribune, July 2nd, 1952. Flying saucer takes off in red zone forest. And then it says, Linky said he was the original witness, the mayor. Quote, it was an uncanny experience. I was returning home in the evening by motorcycle with my 11-year-old daughter in the sidecar when we glimpsed something shimmering white through the surrounding trees. So they go on in detail to describe this case here. Charlotte Observer, July 2nd, 1952. Says he saw it take off. West is checking refugee story about flying saucer. So we've got the CIA report, we've got the affidavit, we've got 2 newspaper clippings. It's a really good case. Now, we want to highlight, and this is all in numeric order here, the absolutely groundbreaking case of the Flatwoods Monster, Flatwoods, West Virginia. So this is the fireball scene, September 12th, 1952. It kind of looks like a teardrop shaped craft, a fireball seen over multiple counties, but came down in Flatwood, West Virginia. So we'll move on to the next one here, Charlotte's Gazette, September 15th, 1952. And we've got Mrs. May and at least 6 other young boys were the primary eyewitnesses. Now, when this thing landed at night, all of them got together. They brought their dog, they brought a flashlight, and they're climbing up this low rolling hill mountaintop. Mrs. May is with them with the 6-year-old boys, 6 young boys. And when they get to a particular oak tree, they see something that shocks them to their core, that completely changed their life, absolutely changed their life. What they saw is something that looks very similar to this. 12 feet in diameter at the bottom, 4 feet on the bottom, 12 feet tall. It has a black colored spade shaped helmet with a transparent window, which was a glass pane window. There was a red colored orb inside the black spade shaped helmet that was beaming out yellow/green spotlights. They were beaming out. There is also what looked like an antenna on either side. And on the bottom, wrapped around the outer circumference, looks like flutes or pipes that were emitting an exhaust on the bottom of the craft. Here is our updated full color rendering. So you've got the primary eyewitness, Mrs. May. She's got the flashlight on this strange craft. You've got the young boys, and they were just shocked beyond belief what they saw here. So I took all the information from the newspaper clippings, from Frank Ficino's book. I did this SolidWorks model. This is my 3D drawing that shows you what it looks like. You've got the dimensions here, 12 feet tall, 4 feet in diameter. You've got what looked like antennas sticking out of this thing, which I think are static electrical discharge probes. And then I thought, why don't we do a 3D printed model of this thing so we can actually see what this thing looks like. So here's my 3D printed model.
It's kind of cute. It looks like a little robot.
Yep, that's right. It's robot look to it. And I'm going to do another one. This is a 3/4 ISO view looking down at a 30-degree angle. That's this view. And you can see, there were these beaming spotlights coming out of this thing. And I want to give credit to my good friend, Frank Ficino. He has done more research on this case than anyone living on this planet right now.
Wow.
He's the primary researcher on the Flatwoods, West Virginia case. This is the actual oak tree where this craft was sitting right next. It was actually hovering off the ground. Mrs. May was about 10 feet away with the young boys. And here is the first book that Frank Ficino did, Braxton County Monster, updated and revised edition. The cover-up of the Flatwoods Monster revealed by Frank Ficino. Now, he did a brand new 2025 version of that, and I want to give credit to Frank Ficino for doing such a great job on this. Now, let's go back to Gordon Cooper. He's at Edwards Air Force Base, and they're at the dry lake bed, and they are filming the installation of precision landing equipment. So they've got motion picture cameras, they've got still photographers going on. All of a sudden, a 25-foot diameter dish-shaped craft hovers over the dry lake bed. It opens up this landing gear, and then the whole craft sits down on the dry lake bed, sits there for 60 seconds, and then the craft lifts back up, the landing gear legs retract into the bottom of the craft, and then the craft departs at a slow rate of speed. But here's the interesting part about this. They caught it all on film. They got it on motion picture film reel. They got still camera photography of this. It's just incredible. Now, what's interesting, the next thing that happened is there was an Air Force courier that came from Andrews Air Force Base. He came with a briefcase, and they had this wrist that was chain linked to the briefcase. They had handcuffs. That footage was flown back to Andrews Air Force Base, never to be seen again. I'm going to go to the next slide here. So this is Corvallis Gazette Times, October 11th, 2004. Cooper saw the film as soon as it was rushed through the development process. It was a typical circular-shaped UFO, he recollected. Not too many people saw it because it took off at quite a sharp angle and just climbed straight out of sight. He reviewed the film a dozen times before it was forwarded to Washington, never to resurface. Now, when they say that he reviewed it, he rolled it out, looked at it, but he did not run it through a projector. But he did notice that it was of good quality, so he did get a chance to examine the film. So what I want to point out here is, where is this film? How do we get this film into open congressional hearings along with the gun camera footage from World War II and all the other major military conflicts? Where is this film? That's what we want to drill down on.
So interesting too that the same man who ends up also being an astronaut has these two very distinct and important UFO interactions.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's really imperative too. The idea of having this older film footage to me is even more, I don't know. To me, it would seem really important because, stuff that we get now, like, well, you can say, well, is it a drone, or is it, this technology that someone else has? If you have gunship footage from, it's going to be, and it's coming from the government, this stuff is coming from 1945 or 1957 or whatever. It's a lot harder to be able to fake those things from that era. So I think that's even better evidence almost than what we have so far.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, I think this is something that really needs to be brought out in open congressional hearings because of the reliability of the reports, the reliability of the witnesses that were involved. And the problem is, I don't know if the senators and congressmen have a high enough security clearance even to view it. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing we're running into. We keep hitting these brick walls in these congressional hearings. I think we got time for one more here. So
I think we have time for one more. I was getting ready to say that.
USS FDR, 1958, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Here is the USS FDR. Now, this whole sighting took place at night. And according to Chester Grzinski, who was the original witness, he said that there were naval officers and personnel that were desperately trying to get up to the flight deck. They were screaming and they were yelling and they were swearing. Now, when they got there, this is his original sketch by Chester Grzinski. He was there when this went down, late 1958. When they got to the flight deck, what they saw was not just an orange light. They saw a 200-foot long cigar-shaped craft, and they could feel the heat emanating off this thing onto their faces. Wow. They also said that running along one side of this craft were rectangular windows with humanoid-looking beings, plural, walking back and forth between these windows. I mean, it's just incredible. So now it's a CE1, it's a CE2 because it had physical effects. I'm going to move on to the next slide here. And you can see in Chester's blow up here at the bottom, he said that one of these beings raised its hand above its head and was waving back to the people on the flight deck. I mean, just unbelievable. You can't believe it. So there were at least 25 other personnel that saw this in addition to Chester Grzinski. So we did a full color rendering, which looks like this. And this is something that was seen. Now we need to find the logbooks for this. So now we've got missing gun camera footage on all these cases. We've got Gordon Cooper's footage that was filmed. We know that multiple naval personnel saw this craft, so there's got to be logbooks. All of this could be brought into open congressional hearings. I'm going to go on to the next slide here. We'll do a blow up, and this could have been what Chester Grzinski saw, along with at least 25 other naval personnel witnesses right off the flight deck of the USS FDR.
Was there any reports of any effects of that heat on them? There was, 'cause sometimes these UFO
like radiation
experiences, people have negative reactions. That seem
not
to,
to my knowledge, but there was definitely CE2 effects because they could feel it on their faces. So absolutely. But
nothing bad. That's good.
One other thing I want to just mention is that the USS FDR had a history of UFO sightings, and that might be because it was the first aircraft carrier to carry nuclear weapons on board.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And, that's always a correlation there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
I like that they were waving at them, though.
Yep.
It's like,
yeah. Cole
nice.
Jake said it's just like a tourist bus coming to
Tourist
look
bus,
at that nuclear.
Wave to the idiots who have a nuclear weapon on their boat.
Well, there we go.
Well, somehow we've managed to come to the end of another show with
Already.
Michael. We never have enough time. I really enjoyed these, though. I like the I really like the before our own aircraft stories.
Sure. Yes.
It's like there's what can you can't explain that away at all.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no weather balloons and there's no whatever. It's like the things just
Swamp
didn't
gas.
exist. Yeah. Yeah. Swamp gas.
Yep. I don't think the people in Oaxaca, Mexico were lying because to this day they have UFO sightings there. It's been going on for hundreds of years,
Keisha had brought up earlier about the trumpet. The trumpets are associated with the biblical angel messages. Yeah,
Yes,
and I wasn't even thinking about that.
And some of those early, like kind of the saucer ones, it was like, well, I wonder if we're looking at something that, well, I don't know, could be possibly man-made, the ones that had like rockets and stuff on them. But, I just happened the other day to be kind of watching some footage of the Avro car, and like, so knowing that was a top secret thing that we had going on, and I don't think we had anything flying around with rockets, any other saucers that were working. So I don't know. It's very, very, very interesting.
I do want to get on to the steampunk party airship. That's pretty fun. They were having a good time.
Yep. They were.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think the thing to take away, from what you're talking about tonight, I think for me, for sure, is the idea that there's lots of video footage out there. There's lots of camera footage. There's lots of film out there that if they, if that could be released and shown to these congressional hearings and shown to the right people, we could make a lot of progress. So, like you said earlier, small fries, but if enough of us start demanding these things, if enough, if enough people are talking about it, then maybe we can make these things happen.
We should absolutely demand to see Gordon Cooper's film that was recorded in 57 at Edwards Air Force Base. We paid for it with our own tax dollars.
Yeah.
So let's see it. Let's see it.
And there's nothing, I mean, there's no reason to hide anything from 1957. you know, there's no reason to hide anything from 1957. There's no technology, I don't think, that we possessed in 57 that is going to give away any of our national, you know, any of our military secrets to the Russians at this point, you know?
You wouldn't think anyway.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, we have to wrap up tonight.
I know.
But
We've
make
reached
sure
the end.
you check out Micahel Schratt. His books are on Amazon. You can find them there. And also check out his YouTube at Micahel Schratt Official.
Also, is there any, I did see the other day, do you have some things you're going to be going to this year? Any live appearances?
I think I've got something coming up in March and then April as well. But, you know, I guess we just have to stay with it. You know, that's the only choice we have, is to keep applying the pressure.
Yeah.
And keep on doing the research, digging up these old cases, making them come alive. And to me, this is a crusade. I would do this, you know, I'm fully prepared to go down with the ship. So that's fine with me, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job, Micahel. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Good.
We just have to keep talking about it. That's what they want us to do. They want us to forget about it and quit.
Right.
And we can't. We have to keep talking about it. So there we go. Well, everyone, thank you so much. Whether you've joined us live tonight and are in chat right now, or whether you're listening to us at another time in another place, we appreciate all of you for your support, just for the reasons we were talking about. Just engaging in these conversations can be really important. So thank you guys for listening to us. And for all of you who are listening at another time and another place, we will see you all next time